Let's highlight some of the features found in Polis. For example, in our property category, in the energy data set, there's a table that shows all the EV chargers that have been installed in town, shows you who the contractors were and what the permit value was. In addition, you can see who the solar panel installation contractors are. This is a leaderboard showing that Sunbug Solar had 39 installations since 2019, an average cost per watt of $4.11, with a median system installation of 7.4 kilowatts. Not all tables are spreadsheets. For example, the sales table, the recent view, this shows you the recent sales and all the details. And when you click on it, it'll show you who the buyer and the seller are. In addition, in the governance category, under the financials dataset, we have the Department of Revenue data bank. They have 47 different series types. For instance, the general funds is a type of series that includes 25 individual series over the past 20 years, covering education expenses, fire expenses, police, and public works, and the expenditures on an annual basis for the past 20 years. In addition, under meetings, we have transcripts of the various meetings of the boards and committees, the authorities in town, school committee, the select board, and you can see we have a slider bar for the different dates on which they met. Each meeting, the transcript, the raw transcript is available. It's about 25,000 words for an average 3-hour meeting. We asked some question and answers of the transcript, which it summarized for us. So summarize the entire meeting, or summarize the discussion during the open forum and who the speakers were. There's also an outline of the meeting that shows all the different agenda items. And if you click on it, it'll show you who spoke on each agenda item and what they said. The Q&A can become very useful. If you look at, say, the zoning board, you can ask, for example, a list of all the concessions given by the board to the applicant, or maybe the waivers that the board granted to the applicant. There's other tables, the enrollments for the schools. We'll look at that in charts, which is very interesting. For example, here's the per pupil expenditures for the school district. Here's their enrollment numbers, maybe by grade. So this is showing you kindergarten and first grade for this town's school district, as well as for the individual schools. This is the Brackett School, and this is the Hardy School, and the enrollment over time. If we look at some of the people category, say we look at the groups, this shows you a histogram by age of the various groupings, in this case, groupings by sex. So this is the male versus female residents at every age. And normally you see this as a pyramid. Here we have as an overlap showing that there are more females in virtually every age group than there are male. This is for elections. We can do the same thing for residents. And similar result. You can look at it also by precinct. There's some interesting information that you might find useful that's been summarized in a blog post showing the people of Arlington and some of the statistics that you might find interesting. Other maps under property, if we look at parcels, and we look at, say, the histogram of the total assessed values by land use. Purple is single family, orange is the condominiums, and the overlap is the burnt orange. And this is by land use. You can do it by decade. You can also look at, say, the total change year on year, and you'll see that single families have this type of distribution. 8% seems to be about the average here. Some interesting charts, a box plot of the sales showing you the single families, the condominiums, and the two families. Shows you the median and each individual sale when you hover over it. So $2.65 million sale here on a single family home. And we have it for the past 20 years. Now let's take governance actually has some interesting charts. Here's the Department of Revenue's data bank. Here's education spending. Here's police, fire, and public works. If we look at, say, municipal debt, you can see that for this town, the municipal debt has gone up, outstanding debt has gone up tremendously through school building. We also have scatter plots. What this does, it'll show you, say, for example, for all cities and towns, represented by a dot here, we have the average single family value versus the income per capita, and over time you can see the single family value in the community as well as the income per capita. If you hover over any one of the dots, it changes the detail, and the town that you select has a star next to it. We can have many different categories. So here's total outstanding debt. We have to go back because we only have it for 2022 and earlier. And this will show you the outstanding debt, say, for this town that we saw earlier. And all of the cities in town that have more debt or higher incomes. So as expected, Weston has the highest income, very little debt, whereas the city of Worcester has a very low income and very high debt. And the town of Arlington is in the top 10 in terms of debt. Now let's talk a little bit about maps. So if we go to a maps for property and we look, say, at the parcels, and you look at the land use of all the different parcels, and you can see over here in the legend, you can double click to get rid of them all and say show me where all the condominiums are, or show me where all the single family properties are. Double click again, bring them all back. We can do a search. This will bring up the individual parcel. You can click on it. It'll bring you up all of the details of that parcel, including the assessment over time for the different components for building and land and total. You can look up what permits have been pulled, what deeds have been documented, the water usage, so the quarterly bill versus the trailing 12 month to see the trend more clearly. Electric usage, to show you the total costs on a daily basis, as well as the trailing 12 month view to see the trends. Gas consumption. So here's the daily cost on a trailing 12 month basis and how much it's risen in the past 2 years. In addition to parcels, we also have, under energy, we have all of the solar arrays that have been installed. The rooftops are highlighted. If you hover over them, they'll show you the rooftop. And in certain cases, when you click on it, it'll bring you up the details: 380 panels, 117 kilowatt system installed in 2015 for $360,000. You can see all the detail, the modules, or the tilt and the azimuth of the module, who the manufacturer was and the model, as well as for the inverter, the same thing. If you hover over the picture, it'll show you a satellite image of the rooftop. And we also have the solar production history, showing you the seasonality over the past 3 years. And you can look at the last week and see on an hourly basis how much energy has been produced. Seems to max out at around 85 kilowatt hours. This must have been a cloudy day. As well as in infrastructure, we can look, say, at the electrical grid. And we can get out of the property search and zoom in at a higher level. And this should show us the property grid for the entire town. Each node represents a transformer, and the color coded by circuit and the substations. So that's it for the highlights.